So welcome back to WCCF Tech TV, everyone. It's Keith once again, and today we're taking a look at the SAPPHIRE Nitro RX 5700 XT. So this is big Navi 10, you know, the big one, the full Navi 10 core. So I don't know if there's anything bigger than this yet or will be, but for right now, this is probably the biggest and one of the biggest and baddest variants of the RX 5700 XTs. Now, if you want to read a full written review, I've already done that. That's up on the site. The video is a little bit behind due to making sure that the article was all the way there. So what we're going to do in this video is specifically talk about this card. Now, we'll cut to performance numbers and everything, and it does perform better than the reference card, but what I want to do is take a quick look at the card itself. So it is a 2.3 slot card, and now I would argue that you could, on one hand, you could say, Keith, if it's over 2 slots, it might as well be considered a 3 slot. Well, truthfully, one of the reasons they call it that is so that you know just how much of the 3rd slot that it takes up, because some cases, especially ITX cases, can support up to a 2.5 inch slot, or maybe a 3 inch or 2.5 slot card, or maybe a 3 slot card, and you know just how much of a space you'll have in there. And with these cards not supporting multi-GPU, well, except for explicit multi-GPU through DirectX 12, you're not going to be putting more than one of these in the case, so might as well beef it up and let's have some fun with it. But looking at the front, you have 3-fan design. It is a very long card here, and now something interesting about these 3 fans are they are asymmetrical. You have 2 92mm fans and then a 87mm fan in the center, and that center fan actually spins in the opposite direction to help reduce turbulence as well as airflow exiting the, well, cooler. The cooler itself comprises of 5 heat pipes running horizontally or long ways across the card, and that allows for the fins and the heatsink to be shooting the heat out of the side. And there's a nice opening down the side here, and the separate memory cooling plate has really beefy VRM, or not VRM heatsinks, but VRAM heatsinks, which is super nice. The VRM is connected to the main heatsink and does a really good job of keeping the 8+1+2 configuration very cool. Now, the back plate of the card is functional. It does have heat pads connected to the PCB so that it helps dissipate heat. It is a nice design. It's a little bit over the top for the rest of the card, but it does work and it is very, very nice. And down the side of the card, there is an RGB strip that will show lit up here in a moment, but for the most part, the side is very simple and straightforward with the black and silver accent, along with the 2 8-pin PCIe connectors. Now, it does have feature addressable RGB. I almost just said RGB. It has addressable RGB down the side, which is very nice. The SAPPHIRE logo lights up, as well as the Nitro Plus on the back. Now, if you don't want to use the Trix software to control the RGB, you can actually plug it in via the header on the rear of the card to your motherboard and let that control it. Now, the card does have 3 BIOS positions. 2 BIOSes are on the card, so you have a default and then a silent profile. The 3rd one allows you to control it via software in the Trix software itself. So the card also features the fan check technology that allows you to check the fan using the Trix software and replace the fans. Removing the fans is easy as removing a single screw, and then you have access to the heatsink for cleaning or, well, replacing the fan if you have to. So SAPPHIRE does a good job with that, since they can check it and you can actually submit an RMA for one of the fans instead of having to send the whole card in. They'll just send you the fan. The fans are also replaceable. They do offer an addressable RGB version of all of the fans, but that's an additional $30 on top of the existing $440 for the GPU. So it's about 10% more than the reference card, but I'm telling you, it's so much quieter, it's so much cooler, and it is a bit faster that it's worth considering. So before we jump into the results, I just want to hit on one thing real quick. Is, again, the big version of the Navi 10, so 2560 string processors. The base clock on this particular unit is 1770, so it is overclocked from the factory, the default reference design, and that gives you a game clock of 1925, and we found it to sit around 1925 to 1950 under all gaming loads, and has a peak boost clock of 2010 megahertz. So let's jump into those results and see how things shook up. Well, there you have it, guys. That is the SAPPHIRE Nitro Plus RX 5700 XT. So many numbers. I've said it 100 times. But I do want to touch on overclocking. I was able to take it in the Wattman software all the way over to 2150 megahertz and hit plus 50 to the power limit, and it stayed right around 2050 megahertz at all times. Gave a little bit of a boost of performance, but it definitely bumped up the power consumption quite a bit. But the big difference between this and the Pulse version is that the thermals and the noise stayed in check. The fans didn't go over 50%, and it stayed, well, pretty quiet. All in all, this version of the RX 5700 XT is super nice. It is very well performing in thermals, games. It all around is excellent. But I want to set it to the side and have a little bit of a conversation for one other thing. Probably the 800-pound gorilla in the room at this point is you're looking at $440. So it's 10% over the cost of the reference model, and the performance is there. But now you are $60 away from the entry-level 2070 Supers. Now this one overclocked does come super close in a lot of instances to the 2070 Super, but it still falls short. And it gets into a dangerous territory. Now, that's where you've got to make the decision with your money. Do you want to go for the more entry-level version of the tier up, or do you want the fully loaded version of this card? It's kind of like with cars, you can go to the the step up, but you're going to have to give up power locks, power windows, maybe a navigation system, but you get the bigger car, you fit a few more people. You have to make that decision here with this. This is your luxury version. It's all the bells, all the whistles. You're not going to give up anything as far as the 5700 XT offers with this card. There's no compromises. It has everything right there. But it is getting really close to the next tier up. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one down in the comment section below. This is Big Keith with WCCF Tech TV. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so that we don't miss you in the next one.